the heart of the Mediterranean, there exists a special world where bears and eagles live free among the vestiges of a distant past. It is a veritable treasure trove of biodiversity that, from the Alps to the islands facing Africa, is home to riches of inestimable value. Thousands of species of plants and animals, including the continent's fiercest predators. This is Italy. Here, among the art and the history, a wild heart beats. Murgia is still a wild landscape in the south of Italy. It is one of the least densely populated areas in Europe and is home to thousands of free-ranging cattle, horses and donkeys. Nobody knows how many there are. The soil is so stony that for millennia people have given up trying to cultivate the land and have used it merely as pasture for their livestock, which migrate here at the onset of autumn from the mountains where they return in the spring. Like every respectable kingdom, this one has a sovereign, a queen to be exact. The largest, the fiercest, the Preying Mantis. The drought has the valley of a river in its grip. Only a few puddles, dwindling day by day, remain among the pebbles of the riverbed. They are swarming with thousands of creatures, hoping to survive. This is the other side of the Mediterranean. A gentle land of mild winters, whose harshest season is what the rest of Europe considers the best. Because here, the summer is long. It doesn't rain for 4 months. The sun is relentless and absorbs every drop of water from plants and earth. Whirligig beetles continue their mad rush. There is no more personal space. For the pond skaters, a small pool is a hunting paradise which attracts thirsty insects. These bugs are able to walk on the water's surface due to their light weight and great claws. They sting their victims with a rostrum, which has the double function of killing the prey and then sucking the body fluid out of it. The fish are trapped in a few puddles, their level falling day by day. If it doesn't rain soon, they'll die. Those that survive risk becoming prey to anglers who can take advantage of a pool of fish that cannot escape. The water snake watches the schools of tiny fish as if in a supermarket full of delicious food. The crab is unable to catch a live fish darting around, but hopes to get some leftovers. Suddenly, there's panic. But it's only the horses coming to drink. Here, it's a game of 3 players. Sun, water, life. There's still some water in a little spring that could prevent the death of countless invertebrates and amphibian species, and especially the livestock raised in the wild. During these calm, cloudless days, the cicadas begin to sing at dawn when the sun strikes the trees, and stop only at night. The cicadas are cheap food for animals that eat insects, but are too big for the little tawny pipit, indomitable lord of the sun-baked steppe that stretches to either side of the stony river. The male sends out its call from its perch, while the female sits on her eggs on the ground, invisible thanks to her camouflage. In a pine wood, the jays go in search of cicadas, and even the foxes are hunting for insects. But there's a smell of smoke in the air. When the vegetation is reduced to a stretch of dry branches and leaves, and every trace of water has disappeared in the torrid air, fires start easily. For some animals, a rapid escape is impossible. Some make a desperate attempt, but they may not succeed. The birds are drawn by the prospect of eating the insects fleeing from the flames, but it's a risky business. Fires are one of the curses of the Mediterranean region. They are not spontaneous, but caused by people, ignorant or aware of the devastation they cause, destroying scrub, the steppe, and evergreen forests. Nature will try to heal the wounds and re-establish a balance, but the conditions will no longer be the same. The trees will come back along with the birds, but the return of tortoises, green lizards, snakes, toads, and small mammals will be hindered by roads and homes, insurmountable barriers built by man. And the new ecosystem will be less rich. Among the first to return are insects, perfectly adapted to the fierce Mediterranean summers, including the predators at the top of the food chains, the mantids. The mantids belong to a particular order of insects and are related to cockroaches, among others, but they are skilled hunters. The Empusa mantis is a master of disguise. It is very difficult to find one. It's a true war machine, disguised as an ancient warrior. It is one of the 4 species of mantis in the grassy plains, and it is the only one to survive the winter by hiding in cracks between rocks when it is only a tiny creature, thin as a hair. The brown amelis is perfectly camouflaged among the dried grasses. The males are thinner and do not waste time when they encounter a female who is larger and wingless. You never know how it will end. The elegant Iris oratoria passes its time between one hunt and another, meticulously cleaning its fighting equipment. The fourth species of mantid, the largest, the fiercest, the praying mantis. The praying mantis is one of the largest insects in Europe and may be considered the true queen of this expanse of grass and stones in the heart of the Mediterranean, where creatures are born and die just like in the most spectacular of African savannas. The most precarious moment of her existence is molting, a process that she has repeated 5 times. At that moment, she is vulnerable, fragile, helpless. Therefore, she chose sheltered, hidden spots for the task. But the hard work over, she unfolded her wings, and the last molt transformed her into one of the most seductive and terrifying queens of the Serengeti of insects. Several times a day, she dedicates herself to cleaning her front legs, bristling with deadly spikes, so that she is always in perfect working order. She needs to be prepared not only to attack, but also to defend herself at any moment. This one is a mature female that only has to think about finding a mate and laying eggs. As green as spring grass, she stands out among the now dry vegetation. Other praying mantises are brown and yellow, perfectly camouflaged. They belong to the same species, but are born with the right clothing to camouflage themselves. Life will be more difficult for the green queen. She will have to try not to be seen by anyone, prey or predators. The world around the mantis is full of dangers, sometimes dressed in glowing colours. European rollers go in search of insects to feed the chicks growing in the cracks of a centuries-old abandoned farmhouse. These migratory birds that arrive every spring after spending the winter in Africa feed their offspring with any little creature found among the grass and bushes. Even the mantis could come to a bad end if it does not learn to hide well. Rollers are very noisy at the onset of the nesting season. They use the roof of the farmhouse and the bushes as hunting perches to spot their prey and to spot suitable nesting sites. Other birds have decided to nest in the ruins. The lack of rocks and gorges has forced jackdaws to nest in the building. Jackdaws are social corvids, but this does not mean they are willing to share their mates or accommodation. Continuous duels take place in this previously silent and solitary ruin. The rollers must wait for the jackdaws to conclude their breeding cycle in order to find a suitable free hole in this old farmhouse. It is not an easy task for the blue-winged African visitors. Jackdaws start nesting earlier and have a natural advantage, but rollers cannot delay egg-laying any longer. Thus, they begin to increase their pressure on their black and noisy neighbours to force some pairs to free a spot. The pressure to find a comfortable nesting site is very high for smaller birds too. The sparrows are also engaged in the battles over nesting places, but the rollers have no difficulty moving sparrows, which keep a safe distance from their neighbours, but do not give up the spot completely. The male sparrow guards the entrance, but it has to give way to its much stronger and more aggressive neighbours. Luckily for it, some holes are too small for jackdaws or rollers, and the sparrows can sing to claim their rights over the holes. The two species will nest side by side, without problems, just keeping a careful distance. Transhumance is an ancient phenomenon that has shaped the landscape of the whole of Mediterranean Europe, linking the mountains to the lowlands and plateaus of southern Italy. The Mediterranean steppes are considered among the most biodiversity-rich habitats in Europe. Nobody has yet made a full inventory of all the insect species living in these grassy plains, but they are certainly thousands. They are prey for many species of birds, reptiles and mammals, but they are also predators and fill all the ecological niches along the food chain. The role of the herbivores, the primary consumers in Mediterranean steppes, is not played by zebras, wildebeest or antelope, but by a multitude of creatures with 6 legs, of which one pair at the rear are perfectly adapted for jumping. These are the crickets, grasshoppers and locusts of a wide variety of species that survive on herbs, leaves, flowers and seeds, and thus occupy the second link in the food chain. They are divided into two major groups, the bush crickets and the grasshoppers. Bush crickets live where the grass grows thickest, along with blackberry bushes and small trees. If we were in Africa, this environment, the transition area between the grassland and the forest, would be called bush. It is the kingdom of small bush crickets that shine like emeralds, the Aeophyllidoptera. The wings of these bush crickets are so tiny that they cannot fly. So to escape predators, they seek shelter among the leaves of bushes and clematis, coming out mostly at night. Bush crickets are normally vegetarian, but sometimes they discover the pleasures of flesh and do not even stop at cannibalism. They should always pay attention to somebody larger and more ferocious than themselves, such as the fat epipyges, with their practically non-existent wings and swollen abdomens. They cannot fly or even jump, but they can shriek and bite ferociously when threatened. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. The large wart biters can easily chew the toughest food. There is always somebody higher in the food chain. Hidden among the branches of a shrub that has survived the endless dry season, a predator squeezes its prey in a death grip. The sagapedo is simply a predatory bush cricket, but she can kill creatures almost as big as herself. The sagapedo is a predator at the top of the food chain. It is the largest insect in Europe, 12 centimetres from the head to the end of its razor-sharp ovipositor. It is a female, there is no doubt about that. There are no male sagapedo. The females reproduce all by themselves by parthenogenesis, that is, remaining a virgin. To produce eggs, the female just needs a lot of food: grasshoppers, crickets, even mantids. These predatory bush crickets have dared to do what for some human beings is still a dream, or perhaps a nightmare. This is the only insect which could seriously injure and perhaps kill the queen, but both species prefer to stay away from each other. Saga is most active at night, when mantises prefer to rest, motionless. Usually. Where the bush ends, the semi-desert grassland begins. Here the ground is bare and bleached by the sun and the hooves of thousands of sheep. This is the kingdom of the other major group of Orthoptera. They are sturdy-looking creatures. Some grasshoppers are the largest, 7 centimetres in length, with hind legs covered with spikes and a sturdy chitin shell. In comparison, the acrida, with its curious, elongated head, is a featherweight. Smaller grasshoppers are on the menu of many predators, including the shy assassin bug, which captures the prey and sucks it dry, remaining well camouflaged among the leaves. Usually grasshoppers are invisible when they are still, but when they shoot up in the air they display red or sky blue wings. This sudden flash of colour may serve to disorientate or frighten a predator and give the insect a chance to escape. Usually. The praying mantis, although a top predator, still has to fear another that has travelled 10,000 kilometres to hunt insects. Thousands of lesser kestrels nest in Matera, the capital of this wide expanse of dry grasslands. 60,000 people live in Matera, together with the Lesser Kestrel, one of the most endangered species of bird in Europe. This is one of the most important colonies on the continent. It is a city carved into the rock on the side of a canyon excavated by the river that hardly ever carries water. The canyon is called Gravina, the waterless river, and the town is a World Heritage Site. Matera has a historic part called the Sassi, an incredible housing system excavated from the limestone, inhabited by a number of birds, including tits and the shy rock sparrow. It is rather different from the more common and noisy Spanish sparrows, which nest in the cracks in the walls. The rarer blue rock thrushes, which in Italy are known also as solitary sparrows, have laid their blue eggs in a sheltered place to avoid the incursion of jackdaws, which are always looking for eggs and nestlings. The lesser kestrels are semi-colonial falcons, which winter in Africa south of the Sahara Desert and come to Mediterranean Europe in spring to nest under the roofs, in the cracks in walls, on windows, and in drain pipes. Every house plays host to at least one pair. The inhabitants of Matera are aware that the birds represent a great touristic attraction, but they try to keep some distance so as not to be overcome by pigeons, jackdaws, and lesser kestrels. Between May and August, Matera's lesser kestrels consume 24 tons of insects from the steppes on the Murgia plateau around the city. Approximately 20 million insects and other arthropods. Every day they come dangerously close to the queen, who continues to claim her victims and put on weight. The season proceeds without a drop of rain. The plants survive with the humidity of the night air, the herbivores with water in the plants, the predators with the fluids of their prey. The river now is completely dry. Perhaps some creature has survived in some hidden puddle, but here, there are no survivors. The Gallica wasps now have to battle the heat. All of these creatures, workers, males or queens, rub their antennae, exchange food, clean each other, communicate and recognize each other as members of the same community. Wasps drink a lot, then return to the nest and atomize the water with movements of their wings, as we do with fans in the bars in our squares. Wasps are equipped with a poisonous sting that is used for hunting or defense, but is useless against their fiercest enemy. Wasp movement does not escape the careful eyes of a hunter that does not fear their sting. The honey buzzard locates the wasp's nests and then dives to pick up its booty. He pulls it out of the grass and, once it reaches its perch, eats the larva. Within a few seconds, it has destroyed a few weeks' work. The mantis has now settled in its dry thistle. It is a hunting place. Summer is coming to the end, and most prey populations begin to decrease. She should never fail in her attacks. The thorns providing some protection from predators that could be a risk to it. She is now at the end of the long growing cycle. She is mature and quite ready to reproduce. The night brings a little respite from the heat and blinding light. The moon rises and sets, bathing the grasslands in a ghostly light. It is the right time for the stone curlews to call and for the queen ant to move outside, escorted by huge soldiers and workers. At dusk, the lesser kestrels that are not busy sitting on their eggs join the others on the tall pines on the town roundabouts to pass the night. It is an amazing view, which the local people completely ignore. Thousands of falcons sleep in the most astonishing town in southern Italy. Under cover of darkness, the little empusa are born. Dozens of small mantis swarm out from the Uthaka, in which the eggs have passed long months. They are exquisite creatures, but some of them become large hunters. In a shrub, two twisted twigs seem lifeless, but look carefully, and you find that they are the most camouflaged of European creatures. Stick insects use immobility to go unnoticed, but they can still find each other. A large female welcomes a male. It's a long, slow embrace with minimal movement in the style of these vegetarian creatures, completely defenseless and yet successful thanks to their mimicry. The queen mantis makes no attempt to hide. A male has appeared. It is slender, with long antennae, half the size of the queen. The female sees him as potential prey and slowly approaches. The male hesitates, realizing that there is something wrong and trying to get away. The female continues to approach, hungry for food. Saved by a hair's breadth. The great queen has found something to eat, a large grasshopper. The male contemplates what might have been his fate from a distance. Wedding bells are not yet ringing for either of them. stick insects recover from a tiring embrace, eating delicate leaves. A busy night. An emerald bush cricket lays its eggs, moving the ovipositor deep in the soil. A new dawn and a new day fighting the heat that increases by the minute. Bees feed on the last flowers. Some birds still sing to defend their home range, but most animals retire in the cover during daylight. Wild boar quickly leave the fields where they have grazed all night and head into the scrubland. Now the summer is coming to an end and the temperature begins to drop significantly. The days are shorter and the insect populations diminish gradually. The grasshoppers are now at their most active. The males stage their ballet, moving their hind legs so that when a female signals that she is available, the first begins and then a circle of admirers forms, interfering with the couple's lovemaking. Come on, there's still room, they seem to say, but in reality, there is no room. These Orthoptera are completely promiscuous in their mating, and it is difficult to imagine who will be the father of this large female's offspring, the first, second, or 10th of the males that will mate with her in a few hours of sexual frenzy. Insects and birds have engaged in a battle. The first reproduce as much as possible. The others try to eat as much as possible because they must migrate. The young European rollers in the nest are now too big for the narrow space. As they wait for their parents to arrive with food, they do nothing but quarrel. The mantis has escaped it, but now has to deal with another threat, this time 8-legged. A few plants bloom in summer, bringing a touch of colour to the parched landscape. Chamomile, thistles and wild artichokes have the ability to store water up to the last molecule and use it to flower and produce seeds when other plants are dying. The few flowers exert a great attraction on the many insects. Perching on a flower is like sitting by the banks of a pool on the savannah. Sooner or later, something will come along and suck the nectar in search of fresh petals. The crab spider is a master of mimicry. The female is the colour of the petals and stands motionless, ready to grab her victim with her 8 powerful legs. She will then kill it with her fangs, gradually digesting it. They have excellent vision, but are also very sensitive to vibration and so are aware when an insect is approaching and when it lands on the flower or leaves. Spiders have been on Earth for 400 million years and are therefore extremely ancient creatures. There are more than 40,000 species, and they play an important role in the ecological balance. Some species of spiders use the traditional web. This time it looks like a tarpaulin lying on the ground, ending in a funnel. At the centre of the funnel, there it is, the wolf spider, lurking. Two or three shots are enough to inject a dose of venom. The grasshopper goes into convulsions and is semi-paralysed, and the spider grows bolder. Further injections of venom. The grasshopper is larger than the spider, but cannot do anything. He loses a leg and is doomed. The wasp spider is one of the most dangerous, wrapping its prey in a shroud of silk, then eating it slowly. Its striking colouring with its black and yellow stripes is a clear sign of danger, which every animal is able to understand. All mantises are in danger. The most terrible threat comes from the black widow, but this little Amelis is attracted to something that has ended up in the web. A grasshopper, already trapped, an easy and tempting prey. Balancing on the silk threads, it approaches. But the vibrations alert the master, or rather the mistress of the house. The mantis realizes it has made a big mistake, but courageously faces the spider. It bends its legs in the attack position, ready to leap. The black widow backs off. This mantis is a tough nut. The mantis begins to walk back on silk threads. But the widow understands that it is in trouble and tries to strike. She throws her silk lasso. It's over. In a moment, he is tied up, immobilized. For the black widow, it is a hard-won meal, but an important one, because it must also produce eggs. The female mantis's hunt for a husband now becomes a priority. The green queen is still a virgin, but she must hurry as the season is changing, males are getting scarce, and most of them have already engaged with other mates. Time is a delicate matter. Among mantises, both sexes are top predators and cannot get engaged just like that. Two mantises, both tawny-coloured, have met. They have to court each other to understand if they are right for each other, at least for a few hours. The female mantis emits a pheromone trail that exerts an irresistible pull on the male, which, in almost all species, is much smaller. The female is signalling her availability for courtship, but the slight male has to be careful, or he could end up being devoured before they even mate. The threatening posture of the female should warn potential partners. One false move, and he's had it. The male's courtship is a dance with death. This time, luck is on the side of the feeble male. A smaller grasshopper is too close to be ignored by the ever-hungry female. Eating and mating, two primary and primordial impulses. The preservation of the individual through food and that of the species through reproduction. Now, the male detaches from his companion. In a matter of seconds, he has a rare chance to flee. So it turns out that not all mantis males are destined to be devoured by their companions, and this one still has the chance to meet the Green Queen and do his duty. Her charm is irresistible. The male, the colour of dried leaves, has succumbed to her perfume. The Green Queen feeds on a large acrida, but she goes on with the long mating and is still hungry. This time, the female mantis goes all the way. When the mating is over, the Green Queen seizes her mate in a deadly embrace and eats him. She is having the most important meal of her life, the one she needs to ripen the eggs in her body. Now her abdomen is swollen. She moves with difficulty, green in a terribly yellow and hostile landscape. She drags herself to a safe place to lay her eggs. She starts laying her eggs in an ootheca, a foamy bag that looks fragile but has a consistency similar to polystyrene. Making the ootheca takes about 5 hours. It is hard work, and once the task has been completed, the biological cycle of the mantis ends. The queen no longer hunts and could soon become food for other creatures. The first rain, after 4 months. Water is running fast. The waterless river has become a powerful stream. The fish which survived are safe. The oothecae will guard the offspring of the queens of the waterless river during the coldest and wettest months of the year. But there is still time before hatching.